Hi friends, it's good to see you. Welcome back. Today's lesson is lentil bolognese, which is basically just a fancy pants way of saying a lentil spaghetti sauce. It just sounds very, if you say it, lentil bolognese. In case you haven't noticed, I like to use lentils a lot. They're a great source of protein and they're really super inexpensive. I tend to go with canned lentils. Make sure you rinse them all the time because they tend to be high in salt. If you have dried lentils, you can certainly use those. Soak them ahead of time. That saves you even more money. But for the purposes of what we're doing, we're going with the canned ones. So we've got all our ingredients ready. We've got onions. We've got carrots. We've got Italian seasoning. We've got some flour. We've got some stock. We've got canned tomatoes. I wanted to point these out, not necessarily this brand especially, but stewed tomatoes. These ones come with garlic and olive oil in them, so they give you a little extra flavor without any extra effort, so they're handy in that respect. There's a couple other brands that do that. So we've got tomato paste that goes in the recipe. Now, this is one of those recipes that doesn't use a full tin of tomato paste, which is always annoying. So what you can do is take your tomato paste after you've measured out the amount that you need for the recipe, place it in blobs on wax paper, throw it in the freezer until they're frozen, then put them all in a bag, and then you just take out like a tablespoon if you need a tablespoon, because a lot of recipes call for a tablespoon of tomato paste. So it's an easy way to not waste what's in the can. And then we have our garlic, as I said, and our lentils. So we're going to get started. First off, we're going to chop up the onion. So you, again, can control the size of the dice for this, depending on how chunky or not chunky you want your sauce. So we've got the onion here. Good spaghetti sauce needs lots of onion and lots of garlic, in my opinion. So we'll do a full onion for this. This is using lentils instead of ground beef is a really as I said, we've already discussed the benefits of it in terms of being plant-based and economical, and it just it's an easy substitution that you can make. A lot of people are switching to a vegetarian diet these days. Seem to be a thing, if you will. I just like them. They're so good for you. So we've got all of our onions are chopped up. Now we're going to do the garlic. I wanted to show you something, a trick that I learned for peeling garlic, because it can be a bit of a pain. So you take the stem end off, if you will, cut off both those little ends, and then, because garlic can be really sticky, so put your knife down and flatten it. And then the clove just pops right out of the skin, making it super easy to chop up. So we're going to mix up a lot of garlic here. If you've got a garlic press, go right ahead. I'm not a fan of garlic presses. They're too hard for my hands to use. But lots of people do like them. I just as soon use my knife. There. We're going to put that in. And last but not least, we're going to dice up our carrots. So now, carrots. They can be a bit of tricky because they wobble. So what you want to do is cut them like that first, so that you have a nice flat surface to put your carrot down. If it's easier for you, cut it in half this way and then cut your flat surface. Okay, there, now they're nice and stable. You can chop these up with a flat side as well. And cut it into strips because you're going to dice these, fine dice. Now, that's the size of it. You can make it skinnier if you want. It's really up to you. And then you just put them all together. And again, depending on your comfort level and your skill level, you can either chop them all up like I'm doing here, or you can chop them up one or two at a time. It really just depends on how comfortable you are using a knife. Okay, so we've got everything all chopped up, good to go. Now we're going to move over to the stove. And this is all going to go into the frying pan, or actually into the saucepan. So, nice big heavy bottom saucepan on the stove. Throw in a good blast of oil. And in go our veggies. This is going to be a really nice chunky sauce. So those are all going in there. You won't even miss the meat. Here it's starting to sizzle already. That's great. Give that a moment. I'm going to put a lid on here. That's a technique called sweating. Hello, Luna. You sweat the vegetables to get them started. It's an easy way to sort of speed up the process a little bit, but what that does is it builds up some steam inside the pot. Starts as the vegetables literally sweat. They start to release their moisture, and you get some steam going. It helps to speed up the cooking process, helps to soften them, because you don't necessarily want your vegetables cooked. So this is going to be a fairly fast sauce, whereas oftentimes traditional spaghetti sauce is made, takes hours and hours to simmer and develop all those flavors. This is a little bit faster, so this is one way to help speed the process up. So. Looking good in there. Smelling even better. Okay. I'm going to season this with a little bit of salt. Not a lot, just to get it started. One thing I learned is that chefs tend to season as they go, so that the salt is cooked into the food and the flavor comes out that way. So, that's good. Simmering, sweating away there. We're just going to let that sit for a minute. And then we're going to add our spices and the flour. I have to read the recipe because I haven't made this before. I read the recipe and thought, oh, this sounds really good. Let's do it. So now, you know, you're learning along with me. So in goes the spices, Italian seasoning. Doesn't that look pretty? And it smells amazing. Oh. And then we need the rest of our ingredients. So we need the tomatoes and the stock and the tomato paste after the flour goes in. Bring everything over here so we're nice and crisp. Something the recipe does not call for, but you can add if you like, is a pinch of sugar. Tomatoes can be quite acidic, and a little pinch of sugar will help offset that if it's not to your liking, if it's not to your palate. Cinnamon is also an easy way to make that happen. Okay, so now we're going to add, we're going to put the flour in now. And get all the vegetables coated with it. Because what this does is it gets it started and it saves you from having to make a roux. So you don't get lumpy. Okay, there's your vegetables all coated with the flour. Now we're going to start to stir in the stock. And there you have that all ready to go. And that'll help thicken it, bind it all together. Okay. Now, if you're making this at home, rather than watch me, this is where you set it aside. You just let it sit on the heat for 5 or 10 minutes or so to let it continue cooking. We're not going to do that simply because, truth be told, I don't know how to edit on this thing, so we're just filming to make it fast. So now we're going to dump in the tomatoes. And then we're going to put in the tomato paste. You honestly can do it this way and then just let it simmer, which is what I'm going to do. Tomato paste always helps to thicken it up. You could use crushed tomatoes if you happen to have those on hand. Those will work too. And then we're going to put in the lentils. You can use this sauce, you can toss it with spaghetti, you could use it as the base for a lasagna. If you wanted to thin it down with some more stock, you could make a really nice soup out of it. Sloppy Joes. I'm just going to give it a little taste, see how we're doing here. That's got some really good flavor. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And last but not least, the lentils. So, this makes a fair bit, as you can see. So, a goodly amount to feed a nice big family dinner, or make it ahead of time and throw it into containers in the freezer. And then you've got spaghetti sauce whenever you want it. Handy way to do things. I'm a big fan of throwing stuff in the freezer. So let's give this a taste. So good. I don't think it needs any sweetness added to it. It does, however, need salt. So in goes the salt. And put a little bit of pepper in there. You can adjust it to suit your palate. Maybe you want to throw in some more Italian seasoning. Maybe you want to throw in some more garlic. You can do that too. Also, if you happen to have any bell peppers, you can chop those up and put them in here. You could grate some zucchini into the sauce. Lots of different things that you can do just to make it even more versatile. So, there you have it, my friends. Lentil Bolognese. Let's give it one last taste since we've got all the rest of that salt in there. Oh man, that's good. That'll be delicious served over pasta. So very, very good. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you soon. Bye.